Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all on this special edition of Minutes of the Week. We are in the great Indian oil crisis, ladies and gentlemen, as they put it. Over the last few weeks, edible oil has been in the news. It's rare because most of the oil news is taken away by the other crude cousin. But since the Indonesian banned export on all categories of crude palm oil came into picture, all the edible oil necessity is in the news again. Since then, the government of India has been running from pillar to post to ensure that not only India has sufficient edible oil stocks, but also the price hike, which might be an outcome of the export ban, is not passed on to the ordinary Indian consumer, who is already reeling under high inflation. महंगाई बहुत ज्यादा है और इस आयाम में मीम्स बनने भी शुरू हो गए हैं ऑनलाइन. Memes have been running along on the internet like let's make India oily again. For your knowledge, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, at least 70% of India's edible oil demand is met through imports. Palm group of oils make up nearly 60% of total edible imports. Crude palm oil made up 57% of the total edible imports last season, while Indonesia's share of the total crude palm oil stood at 45%. While Indonesia accounted for 70% of the total refined bleached deodorized palmolene shipments. Under the guise of Ukraine-Russia war, the sunflower oil import, which largely comes from Eastern Europe, has been restricted. Latin America में आया हुआ है सूखा तो उसकी वजह से सोयाबीन ऑयल के इंपोर्ट्स पर भी प्रभाव पड़ा है. To discuss the oil crisis, we have with us Dr. B.W. Mehta, who's the Executive Director of the Solvent Extractors Association of India. I have with me Dujendra Mathur, who's the Managing Director at Fairlabs and National President of Oil Technologist Association of India. I also have with me Dr. Rakesh Trivedi, who is the Professor of Oil Technology, Urquhart Butler Technological University, and former National President of Oil Technologists Association of India. Gentlemen, I welcome all three of you. I'll start with you, Dr. Mehta.
Yes, sir.
How do you rate the geopolitical situation, especially when it comes to the palm oil crisis currently, and where do you see India standing off lately?
See, let me tell you, India consumes about 22 million tons of edible oil per annum, out of which our local consumption, local production is about 9 to 10 million, and the balance, about 13 million, is breathed through the import. Now, import also, we import palm oil mainly from Malaysia, Indonesia, about 7 to 7.5 million ton. The next is a soybean, about 3.5 million ton, mainly from the Argentina, little bit from the Brazil and USA now started, and of course about 2 or 2.5 million ton of the sunflower oil, mainly from the Ukraine, Russia, and Argentina. So definitely any disturbance in this area lead to a crisis at our end.
But Dr. Mehta, why do you think Indonesia implemented this ban? Is it because, as the news puts it, it's because they want to use the crude palm oil in their biodiesel? That is one. Second, is it because of the petrol diesel prices going all high up? Because you come from the business side of the story, I would want your comment on the geopolitical situation, especially when it comes to the business and economics of the situation.
Okay. See, Indonesia produces about the 49 million tons of the palm oil. Total world production is at 240 million. So roughly about 25 million, 20% produced by Indonesia. So it's the highest producing country. And the local price of the palm oil has increased by 14,000 rupiah, roughly about $1, to about 20 or 21,000 rupiah in last 1.5 months. Now, can you imagine if you are in Saudi and you have to pay the highest price for the petrol? Exactly. So there are a lot of unrest among the consumer in the Indonesia, and to please them or to take care of them, or government wanted to show the action, they have slashed this ban on the palm product, not only the CPO arbitrated all. That was the main reason. The local prices went up, not because of the biodiesel. Already they are using the 30% palm oil for the biodiesel, yeah.
So it's primarily political reason why the government there has, brought down, as far as my understanding goes, they want the palm oil to be under 74 rupees a liter. Mathur Saab, you are a science entrepreneur and scientists always hate the political and the government will. Do you believe that this export ban will sustain, and how can technology play a role in giving India an edge? Making India Atmanirbhar when it comes to edible oil consumption and not depending on countries like Indonesia and Malaysia.
Yes, of course, I believe that this cannot sustain over a period of time. I believe that in about a month, they should lift this restriction because this affects them the most than that of other countries. This is one part of this. Then the second part is that how should we meet this challenge? And can we Atmanirbhar in this field? I strongly believe that India, under the present dispensation, can definitely be Atmanirbhar in the field of this. Because if we see the figures, what Dr. Mehta has already told, that we are currently deficit of 54% or roughly 55% of our demand. So, if we produce some around 15 to 20 million metric ton more, we can definitely be Atmanirbhar. You see where this further production will come from. The government of India has already started the oil palm mission, which is a very, good and mission for India because that is the highest yielding oil in globe. So what they feel that around 2 million hectare can be used for the this plantation of the palm oil. So that can produce about 9 million metric ton of more oil in this. And then by, bridging the yield gap, assuming 1.5 ton per hectare, and which is a realizable yield, another 4 metric ton of edible oil can be produced. So this two together makes 13 million metric tons. And then rice bran oil and cottonseed oil, they are two other promising source of vegetable oils whose potential has not been tapped. So approximately 1 million metric ton further rice bran can be produced and 1.5 million metric ton cottonseed can be produced. Now, some tree-borne oil seeds can also be further developed, which can produce 0.5 million metric ton. And one big thing is that utilizing the 12 million hectare of rice fallow land, in which mustard, rapeseed and safflower can be cultivated. These are the two crops which do not require much of the water.
So, essentially, your solution would be to move to other alternatives rather than depending on just palm oil. If I'm understanding that correct.
Yes. We should be Atmanirbhar, which will, reduce the
dependence on one commodity.
Dependence on the government exchequer and will definitely, make happier our farmers.
Dr. Trivedi, I'll come to you now. Mathur Saab referred to farmers. Now, do you believe that there is some kind of agricultural innovation which can also be, transpired on the ground? And extending Mathur Saab's point, do you think there could be some innovation done on the agriculture side of the economy, prompting more farmers to go for oil seeds production?
Yeah, in fact, I agree what Mr. Mathur said. In fact, when India got independence, we were rather exporting oils. We were not importing. So, a lot of things have happened during this time. And I think several agricultural efforts and productivity has to be increased. We are about 50% productivity of oil seeds of the world average. So, agricultural innovations are required. Countries like Israel and others who are doing advanced agriculture practices, and government should support that, and farmers should be also trained so that we can increase the production. And I think I firmly believe that even Indian traditional oil seeds, which we have been consuming like mustard, groundnut, which are not consumed mostly in other parts of the world, and they have been traditional oils, we can increase the yield also, as well as the more area can be cultivated. So
Okay.
that will make our whatever deficiency we have, and sesame such as till, soybean, these are different conventional crops. If we increase the recovery, which is
Okay.
around 50%,
Hmm.
we can go ahead. And for that, government has to create a infrastructure as well as policy modification so that farmers are encouraged,
Okay.
farmers are motivated, they may be given subsidy. So
Hmm.
that way, India will come to Atmanirbhar Bharat, as you said.
Sure.
And another area which I foresee in the future,
Hmm.
because oils are not consumed only for edible purposes, oils are consumed in other areas such as soaps, paints, coating, lubricant. So import and other things are also met from
Okay.
these areas. And I believe that another area which India has been working, other countries have done a lot of advanced work, and one area is algal oils. I think in next 20 years, I can see that algal oils from algae will
Hmm.
be potential oil, and US has done a lot of work and they have already started commercially. And this algal oil is a
Edible
source of,
oil base coming out of algae. That's what you insist.
yeah, not only for edible but even for biofuels, soaps, and
Okay.
several other things where we need oil. And
Sure. Sure.
edible oil is also. So these are the areas where better practices and oil technology really what we teach
Sure.
and what we are working, and this can be used in this area.
Correct. Now, Mehta sahab, the other two panelists come primarily from a technical background and they have a technical show of how things should be done. What I wanted to specifically ask is both Mr. Mathur and Dr. Trivedi suggested that there has to be alternative look for apart from crude palm oil. Now, when it comes to business infrastructure, the economic infrastructure of the sector, how relevant is that? That's one. Second, does the government understand this part of the problem, or is it trying to solve the problem merely by cutting off import duties of edible oil or providing more kits to the farmers for growing palm oil seeds? The solution which is being proposed by other two members in the panel, namely Mathur Saab and Trivedi Saab, do you think there is a business viability in that solution? If yes, how? If no, why?
First, what Mathur Saab says about the palm oil plantation is a long period. It takes the first fruit to get up to 5 years. Government of India has already allocated 11,040 crore for oil farm program. But it will take a very long time, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. It's not that you have the crop next year or next season. Yeah. What you have to focus for a short term, you should focus the high oil content seeds like groundnut, mustard, and sunflower, which contains more than 40 to 45% oil, and you can get the oil in the next season itself. So that focus should be on the short term, high oil content oil seeds. Long term, yes, oil palm is a solution. Second is what you said, there were rice bran. We have a potential of 1.8 million ton. We produce now 1 million ton. Same way, cotton seed, the potential is 1.8. We produce 1.2. Minor oil seeds of tree and forest origin, the potential is immense. But we are just producing 100,000 ton. It can easily go to 500,000 ton. So parallel, we should also explore the non-traditional sources which are already exist in the country. So one, oil palm is a long-term solution, short-term solution.
No, Mehta sir, my question is, do you find enough takers in the government for business viability of the solution and not essentially the solution?
See, if you look at the crop pattern, oilseed pattern, the last 20 years is totally neglected.
Okay.
So look at the yield, 1,000 kg last 10 years is a plateau.
Yes.
It's totally ignored because we are easily getting the palm oil, sasta tel mil raha hai. So we never bothered. I'll tell you, 1819, we imported 15 million ton at the cost of 65,000 crore, less than $9 billion. And what is the cost at the 31st, 21, 22? We imported 13 million ton at the cost of 1.5 lakh crore, $20 billion. Can you afford this luxury? It's a matter of food security. Now government is worried about the huge bill of the edible oil, and now they are focusing. For last 3 years, government finance ministers were talking on the platform of the parliament, focusing on the oil seed. We didn't see any ground reality, ground action. So now let's hope this is an alarm, this is an alert, and we must focus
This
on
is
the
a
oil
ring
seed.
bell.
Otherwise, it will be go to the 2 lakh crores.
This is an alarm bell for
So
not only the government.
bell. So and now government is thinking of the national mission on oil seeds. Oil palm they have declared. They must give adequate fund so that the program takes up. Yeah, if you give only 500 crore or 1,000 crore, is a peanut. Nothing. You will not find any action. You give about 10,000 crore per year for the next 3 years or 4 years and see the result. I'll tell you, if we can increase 100 kg per hectare per year, we can raise our production from 30 million to 45 million in 5 years. Today, about 28 million hectares is under oilseed crop. And it's possible. I'll give you another example. One second, I'll tell you. In 1987, our production of oilseed was 12 million ton.
Okay.
And by 92-93, went up to 22 million ton. And our dependency was 97% for local. How this happened? So why can't we repeat the history? What we could do in 87-93, 12 million to 22 million. Why can't we do 30 million to 45 million in 5 years and 60 million in the 10 years? If there's a full focus by the government, yes. Another area very important. On one side, we are producing wheat and rice. Why can't we divert certain area from wheat to the mustard, or from the rice to the makkah or sunflower? That is what
That's
is
absolutely
needed.
right. In fact, we have had many economists opine similar opinion, Mehta Saab, that we need to expand our foray of MSP crops. MSP is primarily defined by wheat and rice. But बोलिए.
No. Even MSP should be used for encouraging and discouraging the crop. Yeah. Now every year you are just increasing the MSP, so you are producing more and more rice and wheat.
Correct.
Either you stop the increasing the MSP for those crops which are not required beyond certain points, and
Fair
then
enough.
encourage them. So MSP used as a tool to encourage or discourage the crop.
Mathur Saab, do you agree with what Mehta ji is saying? I mean, we need to expand our foray, especially the government needs to expand its foray, and this is the right alarm bell for the government to not put all their eggs in one basket. In this case, basket being Indonesia or Malaysia. I mean, we need to expand our foray when it comes to, and I'm talking about the government. You have been in the affairs for quite some time now.
Yes, I'm in 100% agreement with what Dr. Mehta has said. Yes, it is definitely required now that we should move from wheat at least, because wheat, we have got too much of wheat. We are ready to export it. Because what Trivedi sir has told, that before independence, we were exporting it. Before independence, very few of Indians were eating wheat. So wheat production was very less in India. It is only after Second World War that Americans, just propagated the idea of wheat and make it popular. So we should definitely divert at least that part of the wheat which is in access to us. We are not able to even, store it. So with these two crops, we should move to the oil seeds, and it will definitely work.
Okay. Now, Dr. Trivedi, when it comes to innovation, what else can be done, not only from the government, but also scientists operating in the ecosystem?
What Mr. Mehta and Mr. Mathur said, these are the innovation in these areas. Policy initiatives are required rather than technological. I think, and I agree with both of the speakers, that we have to increase the yield pile and expand the area of cultivation. Earlier, for Indians, mustard and groundnut, अपना देसी oil ही consume करते हैं हम. So I think if we focus on these traditional three oils, including soybean and sunflower. If we increase the yield, then we will go ahead for the Atmanirbhar. Because
Okay.
I agree with Mr. Mehta that palm oil and other oils, it takes 5 years, 6 years. So short term, we have to plan better irrigation practices, better agriculture practices that will give more yield, and that will be more feasible also. Farmers should
Okay.
be trained, and we can increase the yield, and then we have not to import much thing, and dependency on import will reduce. So and other areas also, as Mr. Mehta also said, that RBO and other traditional oils, what India is having potential. If we increase that, we will be self-reliant and self-sufficient also.
Sure. Policy changes required rather than technology changes. मेहता साहब, कल को अगर आपकी एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्ट्री के साथ मीटिंग होगी तो आप क्या रेकमेंड करना चाहेंगे?
We have already submitted the detailed action plan to the Ministry of Agriculture, and based on that,
And how has been the response? Let me be honest.
no, that exactly national mission document was prepared. Unfortunately, last 2 or 3 years it was on shelf of the
Back burner.
Ministry of Agriculture, but now at least they are removing the dust and they are going to implement it. Yeah, but let me tell you what Mathur Saab has said. Another
पर
area
आपको
is
मेहता साहब लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं सरकार का जो लेकेडाइजिकल रवैया रहा है वो बहुत कुछ रिस्पॉन्सिबल है इस वक्त पैनिक इंड्यूस करने के लिए मार्केट? I mean, had the government been proactive earlier, we wouldn't have cared whether Indonesia bans exports or Malaysia bans exports, just like America.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है साहब. ऐसा है कि भाई you cannot be self-sufficient each and every item.
Okay.
But 15-20% depend on the other items are perfect. And let me tell you, this government, at least the present government, is quite sensitive to the oilseed. Last 2 years we have seen they are quite sensitive, and what are the suggestions we are given, they are trying to implement. And the duty reduction, whenever they reduce the duty, we also advise our member to reduce the price to maintain the supply chain properly. Now, another issue which I want to add, technology. I think the Mathur Saab here, GM technology that can be additional 50 to 20% content oil increase.
I mean, genetically modified.
Genetically
modified. Okay.
Why can't we popularize? Now, in India, you have the brinjal, it's kept in the side. You have already the mustard, no issue. It's not allowed. Soybean, not allowed. Sometimes we have to go with the technology. Now we are not utilizing the technology. Whole world is eating the GM products here, and nothing has happened. But unfortunately, certain NGOs, they've gone to the Supreme Court and matter is derailed. So I think government should also address that issue and make sure that the GM technology also utilized in this country to have a better yield. Another thing is we need now vertical growth and not a horizontal growth. Increase the productivity from 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 in the next 5 or 10 years. That's the aim. Where is the area? There is nothing is left. Once you increase the oilseed, other area will be reduced. So what we need is a vertical growth and use the technology and also PPP model. Involve the industry, involve the farmer. So that you get a push.
Now, Trivedi ji and Mathur Saab, last part of the conversation, Center has started distributing oil seed mini kits. I mean, last year, लगभग 9.5 lakh mini kits distribute हुई थी, and farmers are now considering cultivating oil seeds with prices of soybean and mustard ruling higher than MSP fixed by the center. Do you think we are moving in the right direction? I'll start with you, Mathur Saab.
I think we are in the right direction. We should give all support to the farmers. And as Dr. Mehta said, the prices of the oil seeds and oil should be reasonable. It should not be kept low for the only interest of the consumers. Otherwise, we will never be self-sufficient in the oil seeds. And the second point, which I will definitely again support and emphasize that what Dr. Mehta has said, we will definitely ensure that we should use the genetically modified seed. That is the only big way left for our hike in production. What we are importing, 60% of the demand, that is all modified seed, biotechnologically. So why can't we use the domestically modified seed, biotechnologically modified seed in our country?
Trivedi sir, do you think we are moving in the right direction?
We are moving in right direction, but our pace is very slow. What I
That's
feel,
true.
because what
Very
you
true.
GM technology, all technology exists in the country, and people are also aware. Farmers are ready to accept, but policy interventions are required. What government has to do, they are very slow in decision making. So I think we are in right direction, but a lot of
Slow.
interventions, policy interventions are required. And as Mr. Mehta said, that can be done with the PPP model also. There may be organization who can be invited to go for agriculture practices also. A lot of reforms were suggested in agriculture bill. I am aware, but definitely those could not happen. So I think it is a policy intervention which is required, technology and all those things.
Sure, more policy intervention, more attention by the government to the alternatives, and of course, setting the economics right. They could be the possible solution, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time and joining us on Minutes of the Week at Business World. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure interacting with all of you. Thank you.